Hello, everyone. So I'd just like to take some of your time just to talk to you about a latest thing that Google have been chatting on about at their latest I/O conference last week. It's regarding AI and how they're going to integrate it within search a bit more. And I promise you, I won't be boring you with loads of like acronyms and things like that. So here we go. So this is their words. AI is moving front and center. And what do we mean by that? So I want to talk to you about four big updates and features that I have seen from their conference. The first one is a thing called Google AI generated answers. Secondly is detailed searches and what that means to us and the things that we see within search. New e-commerce features within the search and a new thing called perspectives. So starting off with informational queries, what are we going to see when we start searching informational queries in the future? So the answer is Google's AI generated answers. And I've got an asterisk there because I'll come back to, well, there's a bit of a caveat to that, and I'll come back to that in a bit. Here's a screenshot of what we might expect when we start searching something informational in the future. So in this example, we've searched what planet is most similar to Earth. And as you can see, the generated answer by Google is taking up a huge amount of the space of the page, which is very interesting certainly from SEO and a paid perspective. It's a massive change. And what you see there is the answer is very good. The chances are someone that searches that will be quite satisfied with that answer and then move on to something else. Something to keep an eye on here as well. So here's the main answer here. Got three websites there, which are then, if you click on that, that'll go through to the websites. Got something here, ask a follow-up question, which I'll come on to in a second. And then below that, we've got the usual results that we are used to at the moment. So what does that mean? As I kind of alluded to, we should expect better answers within search and within the search engine results page, which could mean there's less of a need to click through. Moving on to the next point, so detail searches. What do I mean by that? So the way we search is going to change quite drastically, I think, personally. So at the moment, we're very simplistic. We might search 1, 2, 3 keywords if we're after something or finding an answer. What the changes that Google are going to be doing is it allows for more of a conversation with Google to find your answers. So conversation search is here, or will be very soon when they release this. And here's an example. So let's say you are in the market for a new dress. I would say, I mean, personally, I'm not, but if I was, I might search something like red dress for the spring or something like that. In Google's example, they've used this. Dress for an outdoor wedding in Miami in May in a trending color with a 2-day delivery. So it's loads, like it's not just your 1, 2, or 3 keywords. It's a big thing, and it's a big thing for Google to take on and understand. Let's have a look at what it comes up with. So the AI generative answer is this. When picking a dress for an outdoor wedding in Miami, prepare for typically hot and humid weather. Some important considerations are breathable materials, bold colors, things like hot pink, trending silhouettes, etc., etc. And then it goes on to almost in my opinion, very clever thing. It then recognizes your 2-day delivery query that you put within your search, and then it lists every single thing that has that you can consider because it has a 2-day delivery and it fits the bill for a wedding in May in Miami. As you can see, there's those hot pinks that he was talking about. And then come on to the conversational piece and going back to what I said earlier about the follow-up button that we can see. So ask a follow-up question here. Great. So when you click that, you can then start having a conversation. So what about shoes? We've got a great dress that you might have seen, or a few dresses that you might have seen that fit the bill. What about the shoes? And what comes up after that is a bunch of answers, many of which are from social media, so YouTube, TikTok, and various things like that, of people talking about shoes. And again, it's still very relatable. They're not just any old shoes. They are shoes that could suit the dresses that you were looking for originally when you first searched for that a moment ago. And this is another way that perhaps Google is becoming is sort of trying to put humans within their search as well, which is interesting and something I'll come back to in a sec. The next thing is Google Shopping and how this potential update could impact that. So let's use this as an example. So someone can search good bike for a 5-mile commute with hills. What comes up is this, so not hugely dissimilar to what we see now. This is a Google Shopping feed at the top, and then underneath we see a little bit of the AI generative answer, which here's a bit more detail there. And it's understood your query, which design, so e-bikes might be a good idea because the hills might help you, like the motor and battery will be able to push you up those hills. Suspension, comfortable ride, you want to have a spine when you get to work, so suspension is important. And then what it's done is giving you basically a feed of suitable bikes. And again, we've got 3 websites here. If you to then search, again, have a conversation, I'm only interested in red bikes. You then add that, and then it only shows bikes or models that come in red. And then if you then click on this, you then get this pop-up on the right-hand side, which then gives you a bit more detail of the bike, lots of imagery, reviews, and then it gives you 3 results that then click through to those specific websites. So this is a good example of how much you could do within Google's SERP without even going onto a website, which is really interesting. You've potentially found a lot of information without going onto any websites. And then the last big thing I wanted to talk about is what they're calling perspectives. And this is an example of what they used during their conference. So someone searched how to make friends in a new city. And here's how it would work. So you'd have perspectives at the top. You'd be able to click on that a bit like when you search for something and you can click on images. You'd be able to click on perspectives. And it gives you panels of basically all social media posts or Reddit forums and things like that. Obviously very relevant to your search. And as I sort of alluded to earlier, this is Google's way of creating a bit more of a human side to their search. So it's really interesting, and it'd be interesting to see how that plans out, and how the various relationships between Facebook, Google, TikTok, all those big companies, they're going to have to play nicely, you'd imagine. So what's the probable impact? Now, I think it would be unwise for me to really go into this at this stage. It hasn't been released yet, and I think until it has, I'd like to keep the hypotheses down a little bit. All I would say is that it looks like it's going to be quite a major update, and it's going to be quite impactful for everyone. Whether that's positively or negatively, we're unsure, so we'll have to see. I think we could expect fewer clicks to websites, as we mentioned before, if people and consumers are getting the answers that they want within Google, then they're perhaps more likely or less likely to then click through to a website. The top 3 results organically are going to be absolutely key moving forward, like they always have been. That's always been a thing. But as we mentioned and showed earlier, the top 3 results are in those little panels on the top right. So be very key to get that, to get your website into those areas. There's going to be more emphasis, you'd think, on shopping feeds and how they're set up technically, how websites are set up to handle those, and et cetera, et cetera. So as we see, the shopping experience through Google is going to be much more advanced than we'll be used to now. So it'll be interesting to see how that it develops over the next few months. Search behavior, I think it will change slowly, but as search engines become more conversational, maybe our searches will become more detailed, as we looked at earlier, which again would be an interesting one for us to keep an eye on. Purely from a selfish SEO point of view, I don't think there'll be nuances that change, but I don't think the fundamentals of SEO will change. You're still going to need a content with lovely, brilliant, resonating content. You're going to need a website that is technically sound. Certainly the e-com side, it's going to be really important that that is set up correctly. And if anything, the influence of links and the authoritativeness of a website perhaps may have more importance going forward. But again, we'll have to see. And then influencers. So going back off the perspectives, the new thing there. So yeah, well, I think we might see a small rise in how influencers have the role that influencers play with our marketing, not just influencers, just the everyday people that are on social media creating great content. Be interesting to see how people interact with that within the search. Now, I just want to say a couple of footnotes. And this goes back to the asterisks I talked about 5 or 6 minutes ago. So the AI generative results won't appear all the time. In Google's words, it will only appear if it feels that the answer it can give is better than the one that it can give in like the standard results that we're used to. I mean, take that how you will. Who actually knows what that means? But in theory, I'd like to think that it's pretty bulletproof, and the stuff that we will see that it generates is really good, unbiased stuff. But yeah, we shall see. On that point, financial and health sectors will be completely disregarded in terms of this. So you won't be searching for symptoms and things that you might have, and the AI won't be generating answers to that, which I think we could probably all agree that's probably a good thing. Whether it will keep that way, I don't know. It may change as the AI gets more advanced, but we'll see. Yeah, and you're probably wondering when, right? We're unsure. We don't know. The only thing I read is people apparently that have bought the new Google Pixel phone have access to the beta version of this. So that suggests that it's not far away. If I was to take a guess, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of these changes roll out within the next month. And I would imagine it would be a staggered approach. So quite often with any sort of update that Google do, they would release it in small batches, not only, so for example, we might see the informational searches change happen first, and then we might see the shopping stuff happen later. But not only that, we might see it being rolled out differently depending on the country you're in. So they tend to sort of roll things out in the US first, for example, just to see how people react. So yeah, some big changes on the horizon. We'll keep you updated with anything that we learn and anything that we see. I think our role here at the moment is to be more of a commentator of what's happening rather than drawing any sort of conclusions without having to test it. But yeah, potentially exciting times, very interesting times, certainly. So, and we'll keep you up to date with everything.